You are saying that Hitler was compared with the Prophet?
Yes, and whatever I say it with utmost responsibility. What's happening in Bengal is nothing but the form of Islamofascism. What happened in Kashmir was Islamofascism. What is happening in Gaza, Israel, it's Islamofascism.
When it comes to the journey of fascism and Nazism, I have always wondered. Of course, we know their connections with the Vatican City and the Roman Catholic Church. In the first part, we also know the fascist and Nazi alliance with the communist until Stalin changed the sides. But this Islamo-fascism seems to be a completely different line. So you mean to say this anti-Judaist sentiments and anti-Israel line, that is the common factor that brought
Yes.
Nazi ideology and the Islamists together? Why Islamists found an ally in Hitler?
When you read the atrocities committed by the Nazis, and when you read the atrocities committed by the Islamic realm, whether it was in Persia, whether it was in Egypt, I'm talking about the 7th century era, whether it's in Sindh, or what happened in up here in the north, whether Rajasthan, etc. Whatever they did, you can see a drastic similarity.
So why do you think that Moplahs have the similar kind of mindset when they are attacking Hindus in Kerala?
The propaganda was so strong, even in the case of Moplahs. We saw them as a freedom fighters. This is stark similarity. We see the Palestinians also as a freedom fighters.
So, you know, the kind of uncertainty and instability that we see today, and the way Hamas getting into Israel and doing all those horrible things on 7th of October, and many people trying to. So that is not a new thing.
That's not new at all. It's happening. And in fact, even before Hitler came to the power, Jews were being killed in Palestine. And it's just when the Jews picked up the weapons to defend themselves, that's when Jews became bad. See, a good Hindu and a good Jew is the one without the weapon.
Namaskar and welcome to another edition of Meet the Author. Today, a person who started his journey on a different note, but then from being an architect to an acclaimed author, historical researcher, a pure cultural nationalist, and now almost earlier known for his long threads, but now almost every year he's coming up with some seminal book. Aabhas Maldahiyar, the person who started his journey with a book on Prime Minister Modi when he wrote Why Modi Again. But now with a book on Babar, then ex-communist manifesto, and this is a new book that he has brought in, Hitler, the proclaimed Messiah of the Palestinian cause. It's a very interesting take, and to talk about this book, Abbas himself is there with us. Welcome, Abbas ji, and very glad to have you again on Organizer.
Namaste Prafulla ji, and namaste to everyone. It's indeed my pleasure because while we were talking offline and I said that I began my publishing thing with you. It was just the push of Ratan Sharda ji and you which made me to convert my threads into the article. And that's how the journey began. And I'm so glad that my book tour for this very book begins with you. And we are discussing this very work which began 5 years ago. It was just a tweet. Back then it was the tweet, not the post, by Imran Khan, where he bashed BJP, RSS, everyone to be offshoot of the Nazis, fascists. And I, being skeptical as ever, I thought, हो सकता है शायद कुछ होगा. Let's explore. And when I began to explore, the things appeared diametrically opposite. So it was, what I came across was one of the most unholy alliance of World War II. And had this alliance not existed, perhaps we wouldn't have had seen Al Qaeda, we wouldn't have seen ISIS, we wouldn't have seen Boko Haram, we wouldn't have seen Hamas. So, in fact, I'm thankful to Imran Khan that he posted that, and that made me dive into it, into the archives. And I'm glad that this story is coming out, because now the ball is in the court of those people who often blamed Hindu nationalists. They blamed that you are the fascist, you are the Nazi, you praise them. But now it is so interesting that they went on far ahead and said that Hitler is like a prophet.
Hmm.
I was aghast when I came through it, but I thought that this definitely needs to be told in form of a big book, not a small booklet, not a small book of 150 page or so. It has to be as thick as possible, as big as possible, so that people can know that what exactly had happened.
Hmm.
And when the world fights with Islamofascism today, what's happening in Bengal is nothing but the form of Islamofascism. What happened in Kashmir was Islamofascism. What is happening in Gaza, Israel,
Hmm.
it's Islamofascism. So we need to talk about the elephant in the room as much as unfiltered as we can. Then only the journey can be seen as something where we are looking to go towards a destination.
So, Abbas, you have, and from your first line, you have used the word Imran Khan Niazi, and then which is very appropriate, and you have thanked him. See, when it comes to the journey of fascism and Nazism, I have always wondered. Of course, we know their connections with the Vatican City and the Roman Catholic Church. In the first part, we also know the fascist and Nazi alliance with the communist until Stalin changed the sides. But this Islamo fascism seems to be a completely different line. So, where did you get your resources, and why you are so confident that and you are saying that Hitler was compared with the prophet?
Yes. And whatever I say it with utmost responsibility,
Hmm.
because I'm skeptical about everything. Even when I had to see that what RSS as an organization
Hmm.
is, I joined it. That time it used to be online
Hmm.
method by which you fill a form and then
Hmm.
somebody will
Join
contact
RSS.
you.
Join
I
RSS.
wanted to see what this organization
Hmm.
is. Likewise, I was skeptical about whatever was being said.
Hmm.
I began to dig through the archives, and so in this book itself, the so this book is only half of it, the total material.
Hmm.
There are another 350 pages which are uploaded online,
Hmm.
which are bibliography
Hmm.
and the notes, everything.
Hmm.
So this book necessarily is around a 900 page journey,
Hmm.
and each and every instance which I have cited or spoken about
Hmm.
is backed by two, three, four archival documents.
Hmm.
And as you began by saying that, of course, there was a connection with the church, which is well known.
Hmm.
People know about it,
Hmm.
but there was something very interesting with Hitler in particular.
Hmm.
He wanted to bring in reformation even in church.
Hmm.
He brought a new concept of Christianity called the positive Christianity.
Hmm.
And then he said that Jesus is also an Aryan,
Hmm.
and the Jews have forged the whole Bible.
Hmm.
They corrupted the whole Bible. Jesus does not come from where he's supposed to come, as how we know by the Christian tradition. He's the blue-eyed boy with the golden hair. This is how Hitler talks about Jesus Christ.
Hmm.
So he has this fascination of creating his own myth,
Hmm.
and at the same time, he was seeing that Christianity is a religion which makes people meek
Hmm.
and weak. What it does is that at last, after the battle has happened and everything is gone, at max you will just celebrate about it.
Hmm.
But what Islam does is it gives you this the huris in the
Hmm.
paradise. He
Hmm.
talks about it
Hmm.
and he's very particular. And this comes from a document called Table Talk
Okay.
of Hitler.
Hmm.
And that Table Talk of Hitler is the compilation of all the conversation he had about the religions,
Hmm.
whether it's about Islam, Christianity. That's where he talks about them. And during this very conversation, he makes it very clear that I regret that the Islam couldn't conquer Europe. Had Islam conquered Europe, we wouldn't have been a weak state, a weak nation. We would have been the state of the warriors. So,
Okay. So
so
you mean to say this anti-Judaist sentiments and anti-Israel line, that is the common factor that brought
yes,
Nazi ideology and the Islamists together?
yes, and it was way more than just a collaboration. It was like people often would bring in the notion that even Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose went and
Mm,
met Hitler, and I'm sure that regular apologists and we know that who are the culprits. They will surely bring it through if we talk loud about it.
mm,
But when Netaji came to talk with Hitler, he was very clear that he is not going to use the slur against the Indians.
mm.
He stood with the chin up against Hitler too. He was not doing the same kind of game what Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was doing with Hitler. Grand Mufti of Jerusalem,
You are calling him the most beloved ally.
yes, he was the most beloved ally, Hitler, and it becomes very evident from the actions.
Mhm.
Because can you imagine that Hitler removed the pages from Mein Kampf, which was against the Arabs and the Muslims? He removed it. A man like Hitler, whom you will feel that he was not going to bend
Mm,
for his ideology
mhm,
and for his commitment, but he did it.
mhm,
He removed those pages
mhm,
just to cozy around with the Arab world
mhm,
because he saw it very clearly that the only text which reinforces the hatred and the battle against the Jews
mm,
comes from Islam, which
mhm,
is very strong.
mm,
Of course, there are biblical texts too in the New Testament,
mhm,
but they are not as ferocious as it comes from the Holy Book of Muslims.
mm,
In that, there is a verse which, like Bukhari says very clearly, that the judgment day won't come until and unless the Jews have been annihilated.
mm,
So it becomes incumbent upon the Muslims to come and fight against the Jews because they have to wait for the
mm,
judgment day.
mhm,
It's a process,
mm,
it's a process of their life.
mm,
So Hitler saw it very clearly, and this alliance had to happen, and he got the results too. It was not just a notion of hi, hello, it went beyond anything, and there was serious plan how to exterminate the Jews,
mm,
and they were working very holistically at it. And what I observed is that while people talk about this alliance, in the time of now, we are still running a lot of Nazi propaganda.
mm,
One of them is about the protocols of the elders of Zion.
mm,
So, according to that, we are told that perhaps the Jews control everything, and
mm,
everything evil what happens in the world
mm,
is because of the Jews.
mm,
So, I have not touched upon that very document in this book,
mm,
but that was also a forged document. It was a plagiarized document taken from a play which existed. So, they just replaced the character and Jews were inserted, and that book became a playbook to blame the Jews all in all throughout. It came from Russia,
mhm.
in the Tsarist Russia. It was further used by the Nazis. It was further used by the Arabs. Arabs still use it in the propaganda, and it passes through the Indian circle too at times. When the point will be made that why should India even think of Jews as the ally?
Maybe even some Americans use it.
Yes, yes. So, in fact, Mr. Ford was the one who brought in anti-Semitism
Semitism.
against in America, and he used this very document very holistically. And you will still see the people listening that you will, if Indian state takes a good stand and says that we have to maintain a relationship with Israel, like because our relationship with Israel has also gone through a lot of contours because of various reasons of the past government, and suddenly the policy cannot be very pro-Israel, or it has to be very balanced. But the moment we tend to align a little bit with Israel,
Mm.
the point of view will come that why this should happen if the Jews can never be your ally.
Mm.
Or so yes.
No, but the problem I feel is, that we have seen always, this Israel-Palestine issue with some kind of hyphenation that,
Yes.
if you side with Israel, then you are opposing Palestine, and therefore you are antagonizing Muslims in India.
Yes.
So that has been our thought process
Yes.
since independence, despite the scar of partition.
Yes.
But before coming to the larger dimensions of this alliance of Hitler with the Islamic world, uh, you have started the book with mention of Savarkar. And he mentioning Israel in his book Hindutva, and perhaps even means there are many leaders in India who have met Israel,
Yes.
met Hitler. Of course, you mentioned Netaji. Then there was Dr. Munje,
Yes.
and of course Gandhiji
Yes.
also met Hitler. So meeting Hitler itself, doesn't make anybody fascist. But the point is, you have started this argument by saying that most of the communists actually uh, try to equate Hindutva as an ideology with fascism and Nazism. Uh, so, where does this start? And why this real connections with the Hitler thing never discussed in Indian intellectual scene?
So you took name a few very tall leaders, including MK Gandhi, and in fact, when Gandhi was writing the letters to Hitler, he addressed him as a friend too. And when he was asking him to stop the war, and it did happen. And we surely need to pass the benefit of doubt to the leaders of that era, if we look at it objectively, because by then the wrath which the Nazis were bringing upon the Jews was not very known to the world. No one knew that what menace this Nazism is. It just looked like an ideology, but there were few leaders who were able to call it loud, who had traveled abroad a bit, like Netaji. He was very clear that whatsoever it may happen, his policies towards the race, etc., are terrible, and that's why he called it out when uh, there were words against the Indians. He called it out outrightly. But as the time grew, and I will just give a context to the viewers. They may not. The people often get carried away, and they say that perhaps Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was a communist.
Hmm.
He's made communist many times. It's because of his left leaning and how Netaji decides. He says that whoever is anti imperialism is the left leaning. Whoever is pro the imperialism is right. That is how he has dictated. In fact,
No,
he
this right binary, anyways, is very complex in Indian
yes,
context.
it can't even
Can't
work.
be, you know.
Can't even work.
In fact,
S-
the so-called right in India is most reformist
yes,
in terms of cultural terms or
yes,
even social terms.
exactly.
And in economic terms, it is more left than left.
That's so true. We all know this. So, and when this whole journey of political transformations was happening in India, at least if I give a timeline, say from 1950s to 1960s, when we had become very close ally of the USSR,
Hmm.
and the Cold War was deciding the policies of many countries.
Hmm.
And let's forget the past of the USSR for Russia for a while. When it has become a USSR and after the World War II, etc., things are very different. It is not exactly how it was during the World War II, because Stalin fought the battle along with the British and the France
Hmm.
against Hitler
Hmm.
and the Mussolini's. But the things began to change drastically, and it became in their policy to support Palestine because it had to be anti-America.
Hmm.
The policy was that it has to be anti-America, and if we go back in that era, of course, USSR was a good ally to India as well, and Russia has always been a good ally.
Hmm.
It has never been a somebody who is going to ditch us, but of course, there was a very strong ideological connotation what USSR was doing.
Hmm.
They were trying to infiltrate the communist ideas, how they even tried to hijack the first election of Kerala,
Hmm.
and a lot of things
57.
have happened. So the undertone was set in a way that the world, um, you have to be pro USSR or you have to be pro America.
Mm.
And because India is already pro USSR, so its policies automatically has become very pro Palestine. And now it is exactly in that era when the rift between the communists have also begun. Like the Communist Party gets separated,
Split.
and in
Even
fact,
they had their disagreements with Nehru and
yes,
the
yes,
Nehruvian Congress also.
yes, and in fact, if we read the CIA document, in the CIA document they talk about the right-wing communists
Mm.
when they're talking about what's
Mm.
happening in Indo-Sino War.
Mm.
So there's a term called right-wing communist, etc. So these right-leaning communists were in the far old days were almost like a ally to the Savarkar, because when Savarkar returned, the communists were also very happy. There were a
Mm.
lot of them, and there were a lot of nationalist communists as well, which today will look like an oxymoron,
Mm.
but it existed
Mm.
back then.
Mhm.
So before the independence, before 1950s, Hindutva is not being linked to the fascism till then. But post 1950s, when these policies have come into the place where it's being where it's outplayed by the Cold War, etc., the sides are already being taken because what Hindutva has done, it has become anti-communist. If we put it largely, it was not anti-communist when the RSS came in being
Mm.
initially, because they all have the same root with they start from the same point.
Mm.
But post 1950s, this divergence has happened. There's a difference in the paths, and the Hindutvawadis are being labeled as somebody who are the fringe, and that's why the organizations have to face so many bans at so
Mm.
many multiple times.
Mm.
And the politics of that era tried to paint the Hindu nationalist as much as villain as they could.
Mhm.
That's the reason why suddenly Savarkar starts to become villain.
Mm.
Though it's very subtle in the initial days. Right now it's very rampant, but
Mm.
the process was gradually happening. And the literature which appeared in the 1970s and 1980s began to talk about the connection between the Nazis and the Hindutva. It's
Mm. Mm.
in that era. But I brought this up in the book right in the first line when I talk about Veer Savarkar, because he's the fountainhead of Hindutva in the modern context. So the man who you are blaming to be fascist or the Nazi, he's celebrating a Jewish homeland,
Mm.
and the Jews are the people who face the maximum of the wrath of the
Persecution,
Nazism.
Nazism.
So then, how can you say call out somebody who is supporting the victim of Nazism to be the Nazis? It cannot.
Contradictory.
Yes.
But it's understandable if Hitler is using the Islamic sentiment for his purpose. That is understandable. Hitler being Hitler, but I'm really surprised because you are saying one, Islam is a faith system that claims complete solutions for life and therefore resembles a totalitarian regime. Then you say that this entire Islamic Middle East was not simply a passive bystander in the Nazi quest. It often stood side by side, confident and conspirator.
Yes.
Why Islam is found an ally in Hitler?
Because of this very fact that of course a common enemy existed,
Mhm.
and both this ideology, whether it's Islamism or Nazism, their ideology is so extreme. They want the annihilation.
Mm.
It's not just that we live with an ideology. Like, if I put it very clearly, yes, Judaism also has the verses which can hurt the Hindus if they read it the way it is. But their ideology is not out there to annihilate the creeds. But both Nazism and Islamism work on that formula.
Mhm.
And because for the Hitler, the Germany and the whole Europe needed to be a place without the Jews and
Mm.
without the non-Aryans as they define.
Mm.
And for the Islam, the world needs to be without the Kafirs.
Mm.
That's very clear
Mm.
perspective. And not only perspective, it is a prescription which they need to do and work upon. So when the two ideologies come with a point of view that everyone else who does not align with your thought process needs to be annihilated, So they of course will form the best of the alliance. And there, I don't see that there can be any other creeds which can come together to do something what they did. And in fact, what they would do in Palestine is very horrific. In fact, I have not been able to put a lot of documents in the book because of course it was an interest of the book that it does not talk much about the atrocities committed. It can be second part, it's more about the conspiracy, that how they were conspiring. But when you read the atrocities committed by the Nazis, and when you read the atrocities committed by the Islamic realm, whether it was in Persia, whether it was in Egypt, I'm talking about the 7th century era, whether it's in Sindh, or what happened in up here in the north, whether Rajasthan, etc. Whatever they did, you can see a drastic similarity. It's almost same playbook. So, and you cannot find such barbarity anywhere else. It
Mm.
does not exist to that extent. And of course, Christianity has gone through a lot of reform. They have a very different worldview right now. It it propagates. It works through the missionaries, etc.
Mm.
But the way they operate is very different than the mad ideology what the Nazism or Islamists bring to you. You just can't counter it because they come with the violence, they come with the guns, they come with the swords.
Mm.
This comes with a soft power, which
Mhm.
is you can still counter, you can do
Mm.
something, but yeah.
And interestingly, you bring up, because this is the same period when this entire Khilafat agitation started in India, and then you are bringing the Moplahs.
Yes,
So why do you think that Moplahs have the similar kind of mindset when they are attacking Hindus in Kerala?
yeah, it's because of a fact that the Moplahs were the offshoot of the Arabs,
Mm.
and they came with the peace trade thing. And
Mm.
Islam comes very differently in the south. Islam comes very differently in the north.
Northwestern frontier, yeah.
So the Moplahs are the offshoot of the Arabs,
Mm.
and as the story goes back, that it's around the 8th century where they come into the southern peninsula. At the Moplahs carnage happens exactly after the World War I,
Mm.
and that's when the Ottomans have fallen.
Absolutely.
And with the fall of Ottomans, the wrath passes on to the Jews
Mm.
in the Palestine. And the same thing happens in India. It's against the Hindus. And the commonality and the factor is the Arabs.
Mm.
They are the one who are doing the persecution.
Mm.
And I wanted to deliberately bring it on because when we talk about the Palestine today, of course, we feel a bit sad looking at what images appear in front of our eyes. All of us feel bad about
Mm.
it,
Mm.
irrespective of what is going on there.
Mm.
But the propaganda was so strong, even in the case of Moplahs.
Mm.
We saw them as a freedom fighters.
Mm.
This is stark similarity. We see the Palestinians also as a freedom
Freedom
fighters,
fighters.
and it's only because the propaganda is what they were doing.
Mm. Mm.
There's a strong similarity. Though you spoke about Moplah, but I will talk about add a little about the Direct Action Day.
Mm.
When Direct Action Day happened, the police forces and the British forces were very complicit to help the Hindus.
Mm.
They were, in fact, in the Palestine also, when the first time the riots happened, police were just watching. The forces, British forces, British are said to be the allies of the Jews.
Mm.
But in 1919, when the first set of riots happened, they were just watching what's happening, and the Jews were being butchered
Mm.
left and right. And so I see a pattern. I see that what exactly happened in Palestine 1919, 1920,
Mm.
1921. Same thing was happening in Malabar
Mm.
in the 1921 when the Khilafat Andolan did
Mm.
happen. And same thing happened in 1946 in Bengal. Same thing transpired in Delhi in 2020. So it's nothing is different. The playbook still remains the same.
Mm.
And in fact, apart from Moplahs, we can keep giving examples.
Mm.
But Moplah was the most relatable because this is the same timeline, the same people, because they literally see their lineage as being that from the Arab land. So there was quite a strong similarities.
Another important angle you have brought in when you are using the term religion of men, the gender dimension.
Yes.
Why do you see this Nazi Islamist connection when it comes to the gender dimension?
So Hitler was very orthodox and very patriarchal, if I have to
Mm,
put it in terms of vocabulary.
mm,
He saw the battle as something which is always the job of the men,
mm,
and it's the battle which wins the world for you.
mm,
And Islam also brings the same ideology.
mm,
When you look at the theology thread where you start reading it, you will find that it has got a more of a it's very pro men
mm,
to start with. Whatever bad should happen or whatever bad should be called out, it's for the female.
mm,
It's always very pro men.
mm,
And in the Nazi mindset too, in fact, how the laws also existed in terms of marriage, etc., they were also very male centric,
mm,
as the policy, how the
mm,
policies were being laid. And because Hitler was looking to find one particular creed all
mm,
the time, which can be become his ally. And Islam, as I said in the initial remarks, that offered that very the cause to him, where the men gets rewarded with the horse,
mm,
and there's the paradise with the
mm,
wine river flowing, etc. So this is what the men need. This is
mm,
how Hitler calls it out. He clearly says that what do the men need? They just need the horse, which they will get in the
mm,
paradise, and then there's a wine. There is and then he further celebrates the paradise even more. So you go to the battle with an aspiration that something great is going to happen with you even after you die. This goes very well with the concept of the Fidain.
mm.
And Fidai, which is the national anthem
But
of.
where does he get this exposure about Islam and Islamic theology?
So it's because Germany was always a land where a lot of translation work were very
Mhm,
predominant. There's a lot of works on the languages did happen. There was exchange of the scholars
mhm,
from across the globe.
mhm,
There was a confluence between the Middle Eastern world and Germany
mhm,
all
mhm,
the time.
mhm,
They were quite connected with the Ottomans. He
mhm,
got a lot from the Ottomans, and because Ottomans were involved in the World War One, Hitler learned a lot from the Ottomans,
mhm,
and he, in fact, he tried to apply a lot what Ottomans were like. Many times, people think that Ottomans were some very good, pristine people,
mhm,
but it's not the case. If we look into the details of it, like the Jews were also living as a dhimmis even under the Ottomans.
mhm,
It was not all hunky dory as everyone wants to portray it as. It same goes with the Iran too,
mhm,
because everyone is like Shah will come, Shah will
mhm,
come. But when the Shah was there, it was not all great for forget India, even not for the people. So it's just that he became later on became pro America. Though the first Shah was pro Nazi, if
mhm,
people don't know about it, he did a lot of anti-Jews activities as well. So that is how this world has been, whether it's Iran or the Ottomans, and they were very much in touch with the Western world, and that's where Hitler gets all his the clues from.
mhm. So, the kind of uncertainty and instability that we see today, and the way uh, Hamas getting into Israel and doing all those horrible things on 7th of October, and many people trying to. So, that is not a new thing.
That's not new at all. It's happening, and in fact, even before Hitler came to the power, Jews were being killed in Palestine.
Mhm,
And it's just when the Jews picked up the weapons to defend themselves, that's when Jews became bad. See, a good Hindu and a good Jew is the one without the weapon.
mhm,
The moment you begin to resist, the moment you say that I am going to call you out, I am going to really not let you commit atrocity against me, you are a bad Hindu and a bad Jew. It's very clear. So that's the reason why from 1935 onwards, you only hear the bad about the Jews. You don't hear any good thing about the Jews. But till then, of course, they were being persecuted. But in terms of public opinion, everyone had some sentiment. Like the Britishers were thinking for them. Today, Britishers are not on the same page. Of course, it's the old policy where they look to support Israel, like how it has been, or even when it comes to America. But when you talk to the people inside America, or you talk to the people inside the Britain or France for that matter,
mhm,
they are not very pro-Jew. They are not.
Absolutely. But is there any thing to do with this differentiating themselves from this Anglo-Saxon race and civilization also? That
Yeah, it
also.
looks like, because it was World War II was all about the races.
Hmm.
And in fact, it began because of the Hitler uh, went to the Poland, and that's how the thing began. But Hitler's central idea was to establish the kingdom of the pure Germans.
Hmm.
This is what
The
he,
Aryan race, what he
yes,
called, what
what
he
he
believed.
called about. Typically the Aryan word is what he used,
Hmm.
because that was the era of every there was a fascination for the people to become Aryan.
Hmm.
It was very much in vogue, and its attribute must be given to the Germany, that it popularized the term to that extent that in fact Arabs also wanted to be the Arya, which I have
Hmm.
brought into the book. And in
Yeah.
fact, they wrote the
Hmm.
petitions to Hitler asking that
Hmm.
let us be also considered as
Hmm.
Aryan.
Hmm.
Iranians also wrote.
Hmm.
They are rightful so, because they are our old Rig
Hmm.
Vedic
Hmm.
brothers.
Hmm.
But uh, there was a lot of fascination about it. And what you are rightly pointing out about Anglo-Saxon, it certainly has to do with it. This is what it appears from how the circumstances were unfolding back then.
Hmm. Uh, Now, if we look at this interaction in the post Second World War scenario, means what you have brought out is the historical part, the evolution of. Uh, before coming to that, the history part. You have talked about the Jewish struggle from almost for 1800 years, and then you are talking about the carving of the Israel state. What was that great game going on, and where was the Arabic world looking? Because Arabic world that time was when we see entire this Khilafat movement, and Arab world is not aligned with the Turkish Empire, and they are not seeing anything good for them when it comes to the European power.
Yes.
So where does this, the great game about uh, 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 working out in Europe about the so-called Middle East or West Asia that we call now?
So it's very fascinating because if we look at the geopolitics of today
Hmm.
as well.
That's why I'm more interested
Yes.
because it is.
So Iran is a Shia state,
Hmm.
and though it supports the Palestinian cause, which is a Sunni cause,
Hmm.
Pakistan is locking horns with the Iran,
Hmm.
which it does. Again, it is has to do with the Shia Sunni.
Hmm.
Pakistan is Iran is not interested to share its border with Pakistan.
Hmm.
That's everyone knows. At least the people who follow geopolitics will understand it. Now, the Hezbollah fights for the cause of the Palestine. Iran is when what happened in Syria, that also saw strange alliances.
Hmm.
You cannot expect that Israel would have taken a stand, which it took when the
Hmm.
regime changed,
Hmm. Hmm.
etc.
Hmm.
Everything. So this dynamics has always been about two aspects. One is their regional
Hmm.
aspirations, and then second is the Ummah, and Ummah comes into the picture only after regional aspiration has been taken care of. So I was once speaking with a Turk around 2 years back,
Hmm.
and she was clear to call out the Indian Muslims, because while Indian Muslims go crazy about Ummah, other Muslims of the other world, they first care about their region.
Hmm.
They're very clear that their region is the priority. They have to take care of it. They're very nationalist when it comes to what their geopolitics will be like. It is not driven by Ummah. Ummah comes second. And back then also, while the Ottomans ruled, they were seen as somebody who is not very purist.
Hmm.
And while the Arab world was pushing for the more of the purism in the Islam,
Hmm.
it was all about going back to the Sharia, and that's how it worked. Today, the prince of the Arab world
Hmm.
is also not being liked by a lot of Muslims, because he's doing somewhat what the Ottomans were doing,
Absolutely.
making it a bit modern, making it a bit reformed, etc. But as soon as the Ottomans fail, the fall of the Ottomans has happened, the things begin to change. Because now what the Arabs say is that when the Ottomans ruled here, Jews were not the people of this land;
Hmm.
they were the Dhimmis.
Hmm.
How can they suddenly become the same level of citizen as we are? They have to be second class citizens, and that's the reason why from 1919 onwards, Arabs could not tolerate the Jews coming in, and in fact they were coming to their own homeland. It just so happened that they were thrown out of the place. It does not mean that this land now belongs to you. And they came in the batches. When the first in 1890s, when the persecution was happening in the Russia, that's when they came. After the fall of the Russian Revolution 1985, they came. They were going in America initially, but America shut its doors. And so they had no place, but they thought that, like how the Parsis thought that you always remember your root. So
Absolutely.
that's why they got back to the Palestine. And first they were 25,000 in numbers, which happened to be 70,000. And once it crossed a lakh or so, it began to look like a problem to the Muslims, or the Arabs, as they call it in the global terms. And they thought that they need to be thrown out because our lands will be lost. And this battle is against the Jews initially. Later on, this battle becomes a battle against the British and the Jews. So it did not start with the nationalism. It started with the battle against the Jews. Then, because the British began to side with the Jews, it became anti-British.
Anti-British.
It was more of a alliance of a
Now
convenience.
Americans stand with Israel, so it is anti-America.
Yes.
But Abbas, there is a one interesting aspect. We have given an impression, at least during the Cold War and even after the Cold War, that this everything is happening because of British and American exploration in the Arab world. It's all about oil. But it looks like, as per your narration, uh, religion, race, and ideology prevailed much more before even oil came into picture.
Yes. Yes. Oil is a very new entrant.
Mhm.
It is not. So before, even before anything, had that been the case, the Jews wouldn't have been mobile for or so long. They have
Mhm.
been living the life of
Mhm.
nomads, if you ask me. And so, can you imagine that today, the one of the most venerated side of the Muslims, that is the Dome of the Rock, sits over the most sacred side of the Jews.
Mhm.
And then we say that it is about the oil. It cannot be true. You
Mhm.
demolished one of the most sacred place of creed or religion, and then built one of your most sacred one, as you call it. And so it surely was not about the oil.
Mhm.
It had to do with the theology, because as I stated earlier in the initial remark, that the judgment day won't come until unless the Jews are annihilated. It's a
Mhm.
part of the theology. And to believe in the Islam, you have to be concretized to the theology.
Mhm.
And of course there can be debate that one who diverges a bit from the Quran or the hadiths, etc., can he be a true Muslim or not? But these are again very subjective point of views. Of course he will not be a good Muslim from the point of view of the Quran itself, like a cyclic reference. But if we largely put it this way, okay, you are Muslim, you are one set of the people. You are Hindu, you are one set of the people. You are Jew, you are one set of the people.
Mhm.
But largely, if we come to a common minimum program that how to live the life, it can go through smoothly. And
Mhm.
perhaps what Saudi Arab is doing
Mhm.
is towards it's more towards a common minimum program, that how a life can generally be run. It's not that he's shunning out Islam. He's not saying that you shun down the Islam, but at the same time he's saying that you are not supposed to go into the regressive practices,
Mhm.
which is the problem to the other creed.
Mhm. Uh, what was this all about? This Berlin in Arabic. That.
So, in fact, what happened that once upon a time, as in this the era of the World War II, Berlin had become more like a second home to the Arabs,
Mhm.
because as I said initially, they first changed the Mein Kampf. Hitler changed Mein Kampf, removed the pages which were anti-Muslim, and the Arabic version was also printed, which was completely sanitized.
Mhm.
Then the radio broadcast was being done from the Berlin, which Grand Mufti led.
Mhm.
And in radio broadcast, he will call out the Jews.
Mhm.
He will incite the Muslims that you have to fight for the cause, and Hitler is fighting the battle for us.
Mm.
There did happen that on the streets, the Muslims chanted, and the heaven it's Allah, on the streets
Mm.
it's
Mm.
Hitler.
Oh.
So why come and fight us? So in fact, how we say, they were literally threatening the people that
Mm.
Hitler is here on the ground, on the earth.
Mm.
In the heaven we have got Allah, but here we have been sent a person called Hitler who will take care of you. So why you are even daring to get in war with him?
Mm.
So you can imagine the psyche that till what extent they were thinking. Imagine that right now in Berlin, someone goes on to shout that they will face the heat of the law. But when we say that Islam was at odds with the fascism, as most of the Muslim commentators want to say it,
Mm.
but they in fact rose the Hitler to the level of not exactly Allah, but the comparison you see in the heaven it's Allah, in
Mm.
the earth it's Hitler. You can see the metaphor, you can see the comparison, you can see that they're trying to draw a similarity. In fact, the Shias saw him as Imam Ali. So his posters were published in Tehran, where on one side
Now
it's
you are
Hitler.
talking. You have written about the Iran Nazi axis also.
Yes,
This is
yes.
very interesting.
So this poster where celebrated Hitler is there, then Imam Ali is there. So Shias were also very happy with Hitler that he's going to come
Hmm.
to the unfinished job of the Prophet Muhammad, and which in fact Imam Ali would have done too.
Hmm.
This is what they saw it as. He was called the 12th Imam
Hmm.
by the Shias, and so there have been many such instances. It's not something which, in fact, my book is flooded with such instances where Hitler has been raised to the level of the Prophet and to the level of the Al-Mahdi and whatnot. They say that he's like a Messiah.
Oh. Uh, but where does this, despite knowing this, there seems to be Islamist apologists or terror apologists, even then, who always try to whitewash any kind of violence by, and in fact, it happened even in case of Hitler to some extent during that period. Of course, Hitler later got vilified, and but Islam has always been saved from, or Islamists at least have been saved from this.
Yes, and in fact, one intention of me to write this book was that I wanted to call the Palestinian leaders of that era the war criminals too.
Mm-hmm.
They never faced the war criminal trial. The Nazis faced it. They never faced it. Grand Mufti died happily. In fact, he was of course living in exile, etc. But he never was tried for the war crime. And in fact, I make it very clear in this book through the affidavits that he was one of the main instigator of the Holocaust. So there are very strong evidences. There are affidavits which the Nazis has given that he was very close with the Himmler and the Eichmann, and he was also planning that, or perhaps he is the one who pushed for it. And Netanyahu made this claim in 2015, and whole world went against Netanyahu, including Germany, that no, we are we are sorry that Hitler did this. Please, you don't do this. It's nobody else, but it's Hitler. So, but I found the evidences which really aligned with what Netanyahu had said. I'm sure that he knew what he was speaking. He just did not say out of blue. But such is the nature of the global politics that for the interest of your nation, you at times choose to step down. Maybe that is why he took his statement back. But there are very strong evidences for it. So all these leaders who germinated this idea of the free Palestine,
Mm.
and in fact, when they say river to sea, Palestine will be free, if one goes to the roots of it, it's about river to sea, Palestine will be free, but without the Jews. They want the annihilation. They
Mm.
want the annihilation of the Jews from the river to the
Mm.
sea.
Mm.
And so, why shouldn't those free Palestine leaders also have been tried in the as the war criminals? In fact, Yasser Arafat though became a good boy later on. When he became old, he became a good boy. But he was the one who said that the Palestinian wombs are the biggest weapon I have, which further was a metaphor for the concept of the Fidai, or how you become the human shield, etc.
No, that is what I'm surprised about, because it happened with Arafat, we have seen what happened in Syria, and perhaps
Yes,
in coming days we can see similar things with the Hamas leadership.
yes, yes,
That
yes.
suddenly they get whitewashed, and that is why I'm surprised. Why do and how do these blatant terror supporting, terror promoting, terror executing Islamists find to get away, somehow from their war crimes and the violence that they have carried out against humanity throughout the world.
It's because of their foot soldiers who actually think that they are not the foot soldiers. They are running the game. They're the communists.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the communists. They are the foot soldiers of the Islamists. Though they think that they are the one who are controlling the narrative, but it's otherwise. And because of this concept of intersectionality and how the Marxism works, and with the postmodernism where the sets are already drawn,
Mm-hmm.
that who is the oppressed, who is the oppressor. Whoever is the oppressed shall always remain the oppressed, and whoever is the oppressor shall always remain the oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
So this worldview has always been
But they
set.
actually don't coexist
They
when
don't.
it comes to
They
the
don't.
communist countries. Islamists do not exist, and when in Islamist countries they do not allow communists to
They
exist.
don't. In
But they
1920,
interplay in democracies.
yes, in 1925 in Andijan, the birthplace of Babur, the communists burned the veils.
Mm.
The burqas were burnt, and today the communists in Kerala cited that the burqa should be brought into the picture. So even their ancestors, so the initial forefathers, wouldn't have liked the idea of what the communists of the day are doing. And
No,
in
and
fact,
perhaps what they are doing in Iran would be totally different from what they are doing in Kerala,
and
perhaps.
it's in fact the whole idea of communism. So see, we have got very different and interesting sets. A communist is always anti-nation.
Hmm.
So when it comes to Pakistan, they are anti-nation.
Hmm.
So which works in benefits of India, so we can celebrate those
Hmm.
communists, which we do, because
Hmm.
Pakistan ends up like an enemy state to us.
Hmm.
So that has been the case. But the same communist, if he goes to live in Iran, they will start criticizing Iran as a state.
Hmm.
They live in America, they will criticize America. You can never find a communist who will ever say that something is good in my country.
Hmm.
This is a common sickness which they
Hmm.
all run through. So, having known this, I can understand it very clearly that the communists do not think to bring any good to the nation, but they always think about the classes.
Hmm.
And Muslim or the Islamic people are another class in the overall
Hmm.
hierarchy, where the Christians are the global majority, and the
Hmm.
Muslims are a global minority, and Hindus etc. don't even exist. Forget
Hmm.
about Jews etc.
Hmm.
वो तो बिल्कुल they are nobody.
Hmm.
Hindus don't even exist in their conception. So because the Christians are the global majority, so they are the oppressor,
Hmm.
and the Muslims are the global minority, so they are
Hmm.
always the oppressed one. So that's the reason why when in India you say something about Aurangzeb, the communists are hurt the most. Though in fact, what you say about Aurangzeb today, Aurangzeb would have been happy that hey, you are saying that what exactly I did to the Kafirs, but they were no, Aurangzeb was a great saint, he was a speed Sufi and whatnot. So in fact, this communist would have been
The idea which
yes,
he would have called as the
yes,
most
yes,
biggest insult to Islam.
yes. So
He wouldn't call himself a Sufi.
of course, he won't, and they have gone to this idea that the Muslims always need to be seen as a victim,
Hmm.
the oppressed, and that's the reason why all this whitewashing happens. And despite very good propaganda, I see propaganda as not a negative word. Propaganda is something what you propagate. So despite Israel being good at propaganda, they can propagate well. They have means of communication, they have educated people, they have scholarly people, they have the people who can articulate and pass on the words to the world. But still the propaganda of Hamas wins multiple times over the Israel, because the communists are there to carry forward. Like, it's so ironical that, forget the communists, even the when the LGBTQ plus community says holds the flag of the Palestine with the three colors, but they're not going to like the seven colors and more.
Yeah.
They're going to be thrown to the terrace in Palestine, but they become their ally. So this whole idea that all the oppressed people come
So
together,
called.
yes, so-called oppressed people come together against the oppressor. Jew is the oppressor, the white men are the
Hmm.
oppressor, and the Hindus obviously are the oppressors. So whatever the sets they have set, the world works on that. And so they will keep whitewashing as per the convenience and as per the hierarchy. So, say the first to be whitewashed will always be the crimes of the Islamic invaders, which often happens. The next would follow is the crimes done by the Christian invaders. They will do it next, but there will be a hierarchy. The first thing which they will try to defend is the Muslim invaders. Then will come the Christians, and then the anything to follow.
Lastly, Abbas, what would you tell to all these, activists who are protesting on various campuses, starting from, some universities in India, Ashoka, to, some, university in Tamil Nadu, to California. They are supporting the Palestinian cause, and they are calling out Jews and as oppressors. So what would you tell them?
So I'm very brutally honest at this, and I never hold my words. And I say that you are the offshoot of Nazis because after having written this book and after having gone through the archives, I am very clear from my point of view, irrespective of what the state stands can be, and because and again, Indian state stand is a legacy stand. It cannot be changed all
Overnight.
in a one go. But still, my stand is very clear that if you support a free Palestinian cause, you are an offshoot of the Nazis. And it applies to all of them. And I am very clear at it because the idea which emerged with a collaboration with the Nazis, which lifts on a point of view that the Jews needs to be annihilated, or any creed for that matter needs to be annihilated, can never be seen as somebody whom I will like to sit alongside and say that we can breathe the same air. And in fact, I have quoted Christopher Hitchens in one of the part in the book, which is online. The some documents have been put online because the width of the book couldn't. We were unable to hold that much spaces. So there, I have quoted Hitchens, where Hitchens said very clearly that we can't breathe the same air. We are different. We are different. So if one chooses to side with the Islamofascist, like the Palestinian and the Palestinian cause, then we cannot have the words of mercy for them or words of praise to them. They are not misguided, but rather I would say that they have become the foot soldiers of the Nazis. Nazis don't exist, but their foot soldiers do exist.
Thank you, Abbas, for sparing your time, and our best wishes for your new book. And we hope that as your earlier works, they reach to many readers, and build a new kind of narrative about Hitler and the Palestinian cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Viewers, this was Abhas, who is saying and who has argued through this book that whoever is supporting the Palestinian cause is nothing but actually propagating the Nazi Hitler ideology. So if you really want to understand what does he mean by this, then you have to grab this book, Hitler, the Proclaimed Messiah of the Palestinian Cause by Abbas. Thank you very much for watching, organizer. Keep watching, supporting, subscribing the Voice of the Nation. Thank you.